I'll be honest, we never actually thought you guys would pick this video. It was just a bit of a filler to make up a third choice. But as per usual, we underestimated you guys. Okay, so when you first learn to dive, you're taught the right way to do things and the basics of how the equipment works. Only the very best instructors will actually teach you the different kit configurations and how to set up your gear. Now, this may be a little controversial, and don't take any of it personally if this is how you dive, but maybe consider, revisiting your equipment configuration and reassess what each piece of kit is actually intended for and how it works. You boys and girls out there have great freedom over what you use and how you use it. But of course there are some odd kit configurations out there, and today we're going to look at some dodgy scuba diving setups. Magnets. Okay, so Octo Magnets are cool. Have you ever tried to stow an Octo away in the water? It ain't that easy on a standard setup, so why not use two small powerful magnets that stick to one another? It makes your life so much easier. Well, of all the reviews we get on Octo Magnets, divers seem to be surprised that two powerful magnets seem to screw up their compass. Go figure, huh? If you want to use your compass in the water, then yeah, I'd probably stay away from, powerful magnets. But yeah, they are a useful piece of kit, but yeah, they are gonna screw up your compass. Christmas tree divers. You see these usually the week after the dive show, and no, I don't mean where every hose is a different colour that looks like tinsel. I mean where every possible conceivable piece of kit is hanging off a diver. Do you really need two reels, a DSMB, a lift bag, a camera, 3 torches, and a partridge in a pear tree?
That's my joke.
That's Shaun's contribution. One dive, I came across one of these, and everything was pristinely attached where it needed to be right up until the very end of the dive, where the water was a little bit choppy and he got a bit seasick, waiting to be picked up. When the boat did eventually pick us up, everything just got thrown down on the deck where it laid. You only need to take the kit you need on a dive. If you're not going to need it, then it's probably not worth taking it. Single weighted. Now, I sing the praises of integrated weight systems on BCDs, but it can be a great idea to put half of your weight in pouches and the other half on a belt. Having all of your lead in your BCD makes the whole setup incredibly heavy, and if you ever need to get out of it for whatever reason, you are super buoyant and your BCD, let's say, is not, so you tend to float away where your BCD tends to sink. The prime example of this was me watching two newly passed and let's say inexperienced DMs attempt to recreate their equipment swap skill underwater. Only one of them was wearing a weight belt and the other an integrated BCD. Needless to say, it didn't go very well and they hadn't planned or thought things through very well. Inverted. Mounting your cylinders upside down does have its appeal. Shutdown drills are easier, and if you're swimming in an overhead environment, then the first thing that will hit something on the top will be the tough bottom of your cylinder. However, your cylinder valves are very vulnerable, and you really should fit a cage to protect them so that you can kit up and dekit without screwing up your valves. You also need a lot more custom length hoses. Having your valves a couple feet lower down behind your back means that you need some pretty special hose routing and need to keep them neat and tidy so they don't float off and become a flappy snag hazard. Hashtag flappy snag hazard.
Yes!
Suicide bottles. The name says it all really, but divers did used to use these and probably still do, to be honest. The concept was simple. You had a separate tiny cylinder attached to your BCD that you used to inflate your jacket, and that was all it did. That meant that you weren't wasting breathing gas on buoyancy, and if you were running low, you didn't have to sacrifice buoyancy choices to breathe. And on the surface, just crack that valve open to float, no need for oil inflation valves. The only downside, that was actually a pretty big downside, was that, yeah, if that valve opened underwater by accident and you weren't paying attention, you tended to get a little bit floaty, in a really bad way. There are a lot of people that had emergency runaway ascents because that cylinder just inflated their BCD all the way, mid-water, and off they went. And finally, the standard setup. Now this may ruffle some feathers, but actually the standard kit setup is pretty naff. It's perfectly fine for recreational diving in warm waters where everything goes fine. But when the chocolate pudding emoji hits the rotating blades of a rather large cooling fan, short hoses aren't actually that great on an Octo. Now I do come from a DIR background and they hit me pretty hard with that DIR stick, so don't hate me, but I can really sing the praises of a really long Octo hose. A 90cm hose doesn't really give you much breathing room, literally, when you need to donate gas, and things rarely go as smoothly as you practiced in the pool, so I can really recommend a long hose primary donate setup. The views and opinions expressed in this video are those of the author and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Simply Scuba Limited.
You're right, Mark. A little bit red-faced.
Alright, so there you go, there are some dodgy setups. If you do see any dodgy setups out in the wild, then let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, but, no thanks for voting for this, because, it was quite hard to write. Thanks, Shaun, for giving them the option.
You're welcome.
Thanks for watching, guys, and safe diving. The views and opinions expressed in this video are those of the author. Oh, I almost got it. The views and opinions expressed in this video. Oh, I did it earlier. The views and opinions expressed in this video are those of the author and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Simply Scuba Limited.